Hi. I have been working on something over the last few days. It is a little motion graphic for your viewing pleasure. Um, yeah, it's just like a test because I want to do some more motion graphics things, and this seemed like a good place to. Is it having the error again? No, it's not. Cool. Um, sorry, I'll explain what the error is in a moment here. So this is Natron. It is a motion graphics and video compositing software. It's a bit like Adobe After Effects, except Adobe After Effects is editing is layer based, whereas this editing is node based. And I'm not super used to nodes, but I'm sort of understanding them a lot better. This rectangle is well, no, we'll get rid of you. Um, so hang on, I'm going to play it in the viewer up there. There we go. And then that'll play again and again and again till it's done. Cool. So let's put you somewhere I can see all the elements because. Oh, quick heads up, this isn't a tutorial. This is just me talking about a thing I made. If the tutorials I use for this, and I think they're fantastic, are by a channel called TJ Free. I think they are great. They are really simple. It's very much a absolute novice to. I think genuinely, if you have any computer literacy at all, you could probably follow those tutorials. So if you have gotten to the point of watching this video without someone having set it up for you, you can probably work out how to do this kind of a thing using his Natron tutorials, which very thankful to that man making a set of tutorials for an idiot like me. I have used After Effects in the past, so I did know some of these things. So I got to skip some parts of the tutorial, but they're not super long. They are very nice. Some of the tutorials I watched were very professional focused, I guess, as in it was just going press this key and this will happen, press this key and this will happen, but no real explanation of what that thing is. Whereas this guy is very much like, go click here, it'll do this, this does this, that because of this, that, and it's just a really nice explanation of how things go. So quick rundown of what's happening here. Text, rectangle, big rectangle, rectangle 1, small rectangle. The text doesn't move independently of anything else, so it doesn't have a transform. This moves slightly that way and then back this way, so it gets a transform to do that. Transform 1 moves this little guy out this way and then back, which you can see, there we go, does there. Weirdly, I'm trying to remember how this actually works. Yeah, there's like a offset in animation because I wasn't sure what I was doing, didn't plan it very well. But the this thing here moves this way first and then back. But I made it do it once again, this is a test. It's not like the final version. It's just like to see how the software works. So the transform does that. They're all merged together in order for them all to be transformed, so they move from off screen to on screen, then back off screen. And then there's another merge which does two jobs. One, it lets me use the background, which is this, the blue thing up here, because if I attach that directly to the viewer, you'd only see hang on, I've just realised something. We're going to detach everything for a second. And I'm going to give a little run at something. So if I... Okay, so what I'm doing there is I'm switching between the two different paths, I guess. So one... Oh, that's disappeared. Well, screw that then. Uh, so I'm just going to attach A to U, B to U. Oh, B literally stands for background. That's a thing I wasn't like aware of. It's not like A, B, C, D, E, F, it's A1, A2, A3, so on and so forth as you connect things into a single merge. So that was a weird learning step that took me way too long to do. And then from here we can take... How do I do this? Is it you? Yes. So that merges everything together and gets both this block and this block working together in the viewer, which is this thing up here. So this thing down here is how you render it out, because... Yeah, let's just explain the viewer. Screw my brain. This is the renderer. You go to this, you go up here, you click render, and then you can export the file. The weird thing is, you do have to type the file type you're exporting at the end, or it will just not do it, and that's really weird. Like, just to be clear, once again, this is free software. Did I already say it was free? Don't know, don't care. Anyway, it's got some weird quirks to it, and it does occasionally crash. But yeah, this isn't something I would have worked out. It's just a little thing up here. You go up here and then click right, and then that'll add in a thing. I'm gonna click cancel on you. Oh, if you want to add in like nodes, it's right click, boop. I don't know why I'm saying that. It's not a tutorial. And you should like attach them, however. And so at the end, you get this thing up here. So I exported a blue video with a little bit of text at the bottom, which then goes into OBS as a media source. That gets the filter chroma key put on it. I chroma key out the blue. I mess with it until it looks correct, because the amount of this color similarity has to be changed quite a lot. And then I got this thing here. Sorry, I don't know why I did that. That's not the thing I got. I got this thing here, which is sort of difficult to work out where it is, because it doesn't appear on my actual screen. It only appears on the OBS preview screen. Hey, finished playing. Nice. So yeah, I am really freaking happy with this. Like, genuinely, I was expecting it to... I saw it was a free piece of software, and I was like, oh, okay, it'll probably be... I've used free software like this in the past, and the thing is, it's always been very limited. It's been like, you can add a title over the top of a video, and it's like, that's the absolute most you can do. It's just a static title in like a part of the screen. You can't necessarily choose exactly where it goes. But this appears to be like... Calling it compared to After Effects would be a very silly statement. It is not a professional piece of software. It's too buggy. It crashes too much. But if you are like me and you are doing fairly small things on your... If you're an independent creator of things, or even like working in a team of up to 3 in a fairly sort of slow to sort of mid-environment, and yes, and you know what you're doing, I think this piece of software could be like really good. Like, it's very strong. Like, I think for many people this could replace After Effects. If you're comfortable using the node-based system, which I know a lot of people aren't. I'm not necessarily comfortable with it, but it's one of those things where it's like, you get used to it. It actually makes quite a lot of sense once you start getting into it, because some things like Photoshop use a layer-based system and it makes perfect sense. Using a node-based system in Photoshop, I think, would be absolute insanity. Premiere Pro uses a layer-based system because it is purely a matter of timing, or not purely, like 90% time and then 10% the everything else. But in things like motion graphics, it's a case of you need to be visualizing how everything connects into everything else, and that I think works a lot better with a node-based system than things being hidden under layers or just not being visible at all because of how the thing works out. So in this, it's like, oh, okay, so something's gone. I know what the final merge should look like. Something's gone wrong. And then I can sort of just follow the line back, work out where the thing's gone wrong. Whereas I was like working with layers, it's like, okay, open a layer, open a layer, open a layer, open a layer. Nope, nothing wrong. Blah, blah, blah. So, what on God's green earth beeped? Was it you? Yes, something has decided that it is. Why at 2:36 in the morning are you telling me things when you are on silent? Absolutely insane. Anyway, my chair is very creaky. Yeah, it's one of the things like the last few years, which is that there is a ton of software coming out that is free, or there is a free version of it with certain limitations that is not necessarily keeping up with, or like not necessarily at the, sorry, keeping up with Adobe is a really weird thing to say, because Adobe is years ahead of anyone else because they had a several like years head start. And they've just squandered it. But it's a case of over the last few years. So there's a few other options out there I didn't look into too much. There's, if you're a 2D animator, there's OpenToons. Blender's existed for years, but over the last like 2-3 years, it's made some real significant changes that just make it a wonderful piece of software. Sorry, 2-3 years by like my perception of it. It might have been like a Blender's been like constantly updating to be better and better for like the last decade, I think. That's got to be older than a decade. Who knows? Anyway, I mean, someone does. But there's Blender as like the opposition to things like Maya, or I don't know, other things that are better than Maya. I really don't like Maya as a software. I think it's just, I don't think it's worth it. Blender is, Maya has some good things. Blender is a really solid piece of software that's free. I mentioned OpenToons for 2D animation. It's like the main thing I used. Critter as a thing that if you are a painter, it's a really good alternative to Photoshop, in my opinion, because Photoshop was for a long time the piece of software I used for drawing and doing art. But then I discovered Critter, and I just almost immediately stopped using Photoshop entirely, because I was like, I can sort of do a lot of the jobs I was doing in Photoshop in Critter, even though it's not really a photo editor. I'm no longer using Critter, I'm using Clip Studio, but that's more of a... Clip Studio is free for like a month, and you have to pay for it, which is completely fine, because it's a one-off payment, not a years-long soul-sucking subscription that makes almost no sense. I really hate Photoshop. Photoshop is a piece of Adobe software that I consider genuinely not to be... Okay, most of Adobe software, even if I don't like it, I have to begrudgingly admit it is a professional piece of software. Photoshop is not. For the one basic reason that Photoshop is not stable enough to be a professional piece of software. It doesn't necessarily crash when it's overloaded, it just crashes whenever you do something. And it's such a... This has been an issue with any system I've ever used Photoshop on. It never gets better. The thing is, it might just be the most stable image editor out there. It's also very bloated. It takes up a lot of resources, which isn't like such a big deal in like an area where you've got like in a professional setting where you've got the money to spend on upgrading hardware. But Photoshop is, for an individual, Photoshop is not worth the money, even slightly. It is an awful piece of garbage. There are better alternatives out there for a much lower price. like there's certain things like the integration with other Adobe applications that means that it is worthwhile in like a very continuous pipeline of work. But if it's not, if you don't have like a really solid pipeline of work, I don't see a reason that you would use Adobe products. Even going as far as saying like, if your pipeline at any point exits the Adobe ecosystem, don't use Photoshop. It's just a really weird thing. I just really hate Photoshop. But yeah, no, it's video editors. There's DaVinci Resolve, which is limited in some ways, but if you're just doing basic video editing, like clipping thing, like just taking a clip, like a scene, editing bits out, adding a bit of extra scene on at the end, or you want to like put some titles over it, it's really solid for that. It's got a lot of really good options. It's got like free, it's some elements of it aren't, they put like a watermark over the screen, but the color correction on it is, or just like coloring in general, I guess, that's free, and that's really nice for it to have, and I think it's really solid. It's got some audio editing stuff. Weirdly, I think Adobe Audition is one of the hardest things to replace. I think it might be just because I'm stuck with Audacity. Like, Audacity does like 70% of what I want it to do, and then it hits a point of like, oh, I've I can't do this thing. Where do I go? Oh, I might have to see about using Audition again, because even when I had access to the full Adobe suite in university, I still mostly used Audacity for audio recording because Audition was kind of bulky, not bloated, just bulky. There was a lot going on that I wasn't using, and it got in the way of the bits that I was using. So yeah, genuinely, there is a lot of free software out there that I am just genuinely so grateful for at this point. I do need to go look for more audio editing software, because Audacity is a bit jank at times. Lovely, but yeah. I think that's the end of the video though, because I've now talked for 20 minutes when I meant to talk for about 10 about a lovely motion graphic that I made. I am going to update like the final version of it. I'm planning to illustrate in a different piece of software, import all of the images in, and then sort of do a similar thing to this. But for the time being, I think this is genuinely a really nice thing that I have achieved with relatively little time and energy. So, quite a lot of effort though, if I'm being fair to myself. Putting in effort lately is not the easiest thing in the world. Okay, if you've liked this video, like it. If you want to keep watching videos like this, or just, I don't know, if you don't curate your channel, if you don't curate your subscription box, give me a subscribe. I'll do more things like this and play some video games or do some animation things. I don't know, stuff. Oh, actually, no, hang on. Okay, no more than 20 minutes here. The other thing I'm planning to do is I want to have a little animated thing in the bottom left of the screen that is just like chilling there. I've just seen some of them and I think they're really cute, and I just want one just sort of hanging out the bottom of the screen, like blinking and just pointing at things. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm planning it. I want to like hand animate it, because a lot of them are, I want to like properly animate it and then essentially have it on loop, but I want it to be quite like a difficult to spot loop. Haven't decided yet. Anyway, good night.